things. Well, welcome to the ShrimpsNet podcast, the official podcast of the Shrimps Trust, now with over 660 members. We have, as usual, two great guests joining the young and the old. You can work out who that is, here at Trust Towers. Joining us tonight with all the boardroom chit-chat is Sir Roderick of Taylor. Welcome.
Welcome, David.
And live from South America at great expense. He only moved there when he saw film of Teofilio Cabelias's free kick against Scotland in the '78 World Cup. It's ShrimpsOnline guru, all-time good egg, and he's from darkest Peru now. It's Tom Collins. Welcome along, Tom.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Excuse me. Terribly sorry. So start as we mean to go on. We've got Joel with us, who's the young. I'm the old. And we'll chat a little bit about the FA Cup, first of all, Joel. Not the greatest game I've ever seen. Dreadful conditions. But when you look back at it now, it was actually a pretty half-decent game. Chances at both ends. The return of the prodigal Kev, and he nearly had an impact. And obviously Aaron Wildig comes on and sorts the whole situation out, and we end up with Buxton. Talk me through it.
Yeah, it was an interesting watch because I wasn't able to get to the game, unfortunately, but I've been able to watch it back, and I thought it was interesting watching it back, kind of looking at it in quite a cold way and not getting swept up in the atmosphere of the day. Because I thought a few people said we were a bit lucky, but I don't think we really were. I thought we had control for large parts of the game. We knocked it around relatively nicely. Jonah was a big threat for a lot of the game.
Yeah. So,
we had some threats. I think they caught us breaking from midfield a couple of times. But even then, they didn't have any clear-cut chances. I think it kind of reminded me of the Crew game in some ways, in that they had a lot of shots that were good from outside the area, but it wasn't like they were getting into the area and having shots that they should have scored. They were good shots because they were from range, and they were, forced a good save out of Anderson, quite a few good saves out of Anderson. So I thought, that it was decent, and we defended better than we have done recently. And, it was just much improved, and, a big positive compared to, some of the defensive performance recently. And then, like you say, Kev coming on, maybe fluffed his lines on that chance that fell on his right foot, but, it's Kev's right foot, so.
Straight at the keeper. But that one where Yockel pushed it onto the post from his header, and I was like, that was a great save, but then the flag went up, so it wouldn't have counted anyway. But yeah, he always, it's always about Kev it was Kev v Derek Adams, but today, obviously then it wasn't really relevant, but typical, he's still got it in him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's interesting watching because obviously, like he's 41. Physically, and in terms of his playing skills, he probably has deteriorated a bit, but he's still got a good brain on him. And I think he exploited the spaces, and he found himself in quite good little pockets of space to be able to work himself some half-decent looking chances. So, there is still a bit about him, and it'll be interesting to see how the new manager at Newport takes to him. But, I think he showed a bit against us.
Tom, you saw the game. What were your thoughts?
I think, the conditions played into it somewhat. I think it's worth also mentioning that there was a bit of a switch of system in terms of us changing the three in midfield and bringing two of them sitting. So we had Callum Jones and Alfie McCalmont sitting. So it was really interesting to see how that played out. I thought there was some good movements. I think it was a work in progress. What I did enjoy is I thought the fullbacks in Greg Lee and Ryan McLaughlin. Is that how you pronounce his name? Did really well. Looking at the stats, I know that Greg Lee managed to put in 8 crosses and 4 of which were successful. So I thought their play was very interesting, that the fullbacks really got forward in this system, which I think is something to keep an eye on. I thought it was pretty good performance in comparison to some that we've had lately. It was a relief to be able to keep that clean sheet. Agree with Joel that there was a lot of long efforts that we managed to keep out. And delighted for Aaron Wildig. I mean, how many injuries he's had, how many things he's had go wrong with him. I think that finish as well, we can't underrate that. People think you look at the position of it, it's just a tap-in. But why do more players not get those tap-ins? If you look at the way that it curved his run around the back post, he timed the run and the finish. It wasn't as easy finish as it looked, so I was absolutely delighted for Aaron Wildy. I think the key thing is we've kind of landed on our feet through that hard work. That could have gone the other way with some of the results that we've had lately, and now we've earned the minimum of 60 grand plus by getting that punt tie away at Buxton. So really credit to the lads for digging in, and we just need to see more of that grittiness now moving forward to be able to pick up some points before Christmas.
It was quite strange, the reactions from across the board, across all the fan platforms, was generally, as you've both alluded to, the fact that we were a bit lucky, and we were and it was like, well, hang on, we've just kept a clean sheet here, and Yockel had a great game and deservedly man of the match, but that's what he's there for, isn't he? Isn't he there to save shots and push him around for corners and stuff like that? So he's doing what he's paid for, which is great. But at the time, and I'll tell you this now, obviously I was fortunate enough to be sat in the stand, and obviously they were changing the system. And Phillips played quite well for me. I thought he played, he knitted things together neatly. But when they were taking Phillips off and they held up the board, and it was obviously Wildig warming up, sort of like two blokes sat behind me, 2 rows behind me, who obviously sit there all the time. And one just immediately went, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? Phillips will get you. Oh, Phillips will get you a goal. What are you doing, man? And obviously Wildig ran on. The cross came in and he tapped it in. And I just turned around and looked at him like that. And his mate was sat next to him and went, that shut you up. And I thought, that's what you're up against. It doesn't matter what you do, it's wrong. But then it turned so right. So it was the right substitution.
He's so smart as well. I think he hadn't touched the ball, and I think watching the goal back, he runs he's actually initially running in the same direction as Jones, and then he dropped off and he literally goes all the way around the back. Yeah, nobody's worked out that he's a new player on the pitch. Basically, I think at that point, so he just exploits that, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, happy days. So, Rod, we come back to the good old days. Silverlands, the highest ground in England, 1,000 feet above sea level. I said last time we played there, it was first game of the season, 94-95. We won. John Coleman scored twice. I was nice and brown because I've just come back from Kenya on the Thursday, and we went there on the Saturday. It was Les Dewhurst's first away game. There's a fact for you. And we had no idea then that season would lead to conference, which would lead to Football League, which would lead to League One, which would lead to League Two. And I always think that season was the start of us ending up where we are now.
Absolutely, David. And then we played them, of course, in the penultimate game that season, and drew one apiece at Christie Park, which clinched the promotion spot.
Yeah, that's right. And somebody very nicely put, we were joking about on one of the fans' pages on Facebook, and they were joking about saying, "Oh, it's dead easy for Buxton. If we only get like 800 tickets, just the people who were there at that last home game when we played Buxton." And I went, "That won't work. There was 1,500 there." And he went, "Oh, I thought it was about 300." And I said, "No, there was 1,500 there that day, so that won't work," because that was our best crowd that season, wasn't it?
1950, David, come on. And I don't mean the year, I mean the attendance.
Yeah, no. I said 1,500 off the top of my head. But obviously you fiddled the gate, so you'd know. So.
Certainly not me. I don't think Graham Hodgson would do that either. But it was a busy day, wasn't it? We went 1-0 up, Jim McCluskey scored. And did they score later? I can't just remember now.
Jim, I haven't looked it up off the top of my head, Jim Connor. Because he had grey hair and he was a good player for them, Buxton. Yeah. Remember, it was Bob Murphy who was their manager, who'd won the NPL with Mossley and what have you. So he had a history. So,
and if we'd have got a win that day, we could have gone to Colwyn Bay with a chance of the championship, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Hey,
me and Glenn turned up at Colwyn Bay on that Tuesday night, and we had massive boards, and if we scored, we're going to hold them up because it'd have been 100 goals. But, of course, it ended up 0-0. So we just dropped the one and stood there at the end with 0-0.
Happy days, David. Happy
Yeah.
days.
It was funny because we went in the pub at Colwyn Bay, and obviously Marine were champions by that night, and the pub in Colwyn Bay was called the Marine.
Really?
What are the chances? It was like, huh? So anyway, never mind. Anyway, I digress. A great draw for Buxton. Obviously 4G pitch. There's a couple of good pubs in town, and there's a nice chippy at the bottom of the hill, as I remember. But we haven't played them for so long, and they've sort of like, we've gone in opposite directions. But talking to a couple of people that I know, and one of them, as Joel knows, is FC United's manager, who I used to work with. And he reckons Buxton are throwing money at it. They're serious. They're getting out of that division, and Conference North, here we come, sort of thing. So they'll have a decent side, as is proved with people like Jamie Ward, etc., playing for them, who could probably still do a job at a higher level. But we've gone in opposite directions, but always a good club, Buxton, Rod.
Yeah. It's a nice drive there, David, and pleasant part of the world. Yeah, they are a good club. I don't know that we will know anybody that was there then. Who knows? But I think it's a tough game. There's no givens in the FA Cup, for goodness' sake. It's a revisit for us. It'll be pleasant from that point of view. We've just got to go and do a job, though, from a football perspective, haven't we? It's a great opportunity to get through to round 3 and hopefully play the big boys. But they'll be on their game that day. I've no doubt about it, no illusions at all that they'll be right on their game. They'll want to progress because, just like it is for us, but I suppose even more so for them, the money, the potential money getting to that next round it's massive.
Yeah, and I think obviously we're fortunate enough, and I'll come back to Joel and obviously Tom. We're fortunate enough that we've been picked to be on the BBC 12:45 on that Saturday. So we're live on BBC One. That'll be the first time ever we've been on live on BBC One, which is a fantastic opportunity for us. Plus, we get the money, and if we win, we've got a chance of being on telly again if we draw Salford. But it's a great draw, Tom.
Oh, it's superb. I think you won't believe this, but there was a random thing on the Emirates Twitter page where it said do a screenshot of I think it's a GIF. What do you call it? A GIF where it changes numbers. And a screenshot about 5 minutes before the draw, and lo and behold, Buxton came out. I'm not kidding you, And I actually texted someone to say they come out, and then we got drawn them. They were there. That is literally the plum tie, because with them, with it being the lowest side in the competition away, and us going there, people are going to tune in wanting Buxton to get the upset against us. I completely agree with Rob. These games are no gimme. If we turn up with the wrong attitude, there's a good chance we'll get beat. So we've got to get well prepared, and it gives us a great chance. I mean, it starts the kitty off with 60 grand. I think it's another 30 grand to get through to the next round, and then who knows what faces next. But we just have to go there, and we have to do the job and win the game. But it's a great tie. I'm super jealous. This is probably as jealous as I am. I think that would be a great tie to go and watch. So very much looking forward to it. But fortunately, I'll be able to watch from South America. And
Joel, there's been potential banana skins in the past. We went as a league club. We've been to Dover and we've been to Halifax, who were conference, both at the time. So obviously this is a little bit different because they're 2 divisions lower. But looking at the side they've got, they're paying pretty decent money. So they're no mugs. They're unbeaten this season. The potential is there for them to, first 20 minutes, have a real good go. And we've seen that our confidence is low, particularly in October and November. They get an early goal, it's going to be tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to say that the league form's been really good, but we also went to another good team at that. I think they were at that level, Malden and Tiptree last year. Right. I think it was the same step, obviously down south, but they had a good season the season before. I think they were unfortunate not to get promoted after it got cancelled the previous season. I think they were having a decent season again. So, we just and on that day we turned up, and when we were professional, we did the job. We probably should have scored a few more on that day. Hopefully, we can do the same again. Obviously, there's a 4G pitch which might make a difference. Who knows? didn't seem to make much of a difference to Colchester when they were down. I was watching them the other night.
Yeah.
When they were playing on the pitch there. I think hopefully we'll be able to have access to any of the stuff at the uni to prepare maybe a bit for dealing with how the bounce is on that. So, I'm sure we'll be prepared. And, I think, like you say, with the confidence, I think that needs to get solved for our league form as well. So hopefully, I'm sure Stephen and everybody will be working really hard to kind of get us back on track in that kind of way. Yeah, and we just got to, like you say, be professional, turn up, do the job properly, not take it seriously. And then, I hope our quality, if we do that, our quality should shine through.
So, Rod, I saw you nodding your head there. Is there a 4G facility at the uni that we can use?
Yeah, there is indeed. As you probably know, last year we trained all year on that facility. So it's a decent surface. We've been on grass most of this year, apart from when it's been absolutely tipping it down. So yeah, that is there, and that will be used over the next week or two. Going back to it, what the guys have said, it's to a degree is a state of mind. We've just got to go there, be professional, come away from it, and move on. And you never know, do you might get Stephen Gerrard Miller in the next round? That'd be a good tie.
Yeah, but Salford would be on, so it's me annoyance, that one. I'm not going to get into that one. Yeah. So we'll move on to the dead rubber against Carlisle on Tuesday night, and I thought we were quite nice. We realised Keith Millen needed a win, as Carlisle manager, and I didn't think we played too badly for the first 20 minutes. But then, as per usual, the demons arose when we didn't get an early goal. We looked completely devoid of confidence. The main topic of conversation, again, reflecting what the fans have been saying, is that this has got to stop. 4-3-3 is not working, and I think there's three of us who watched the game who were like, we weren't playing 4-3-3, but it was a strange game, Joel.
Yeah, it was a strange game. Like you said, I thought we played quite well in that first 20 minutes, and then I think we've got to give a little shout out to Toombs and his brief Lionel Messi moment, dancing through the defence and firing it wide. You know what? To be honest, we could easily have scored in those first 20 minutes. I think there was a couple of moments where maybe Younger and Stockton maybe could have chosen a pass rather than just blasting it. I think if they'd done that, we'd have had a bit of a better chance of scoring. But we played well, and then we just kind of let the game get away from us a little bit, which is disappointing because, it happens. The game gets away with you sometimes. It was disappointing how we weren't able to kind of wrestle it back, and then when they did score, I think it just seemed like heads dropped quite a lot. Yeah. Which is a shame because I think at the end of the day, it is a dead rubber. But he played the first team to give them a chance to kind of maybe get into their stride a bit more. And it looked like they might be doing that in the first 20 minutes, but, it just seemed like heads went a little bit after that point, and then especially when they scored. So maybe a bit of an opportunity missed to get the win, but at the end of the day, like you say, the result from that game, it's not the end of the world. We've got another international break. I think we've not actually come back too good after the previous international breaks, but, hopefully with this, it might be a nice chance for a bit of a reset mentally, maybe, just because things haven't been, I think people's confidence does look low. I think looking at the way people were kind of looking to receive the ball in midfield, it was like just passing it straight back to the defenders without really looking forward. And I think that shows that, and that's, I think a lot of that is just bravery and confidence, And
that's what we had at the start of the season.
Yeah, we had a bit about.
We were taking people on. We were committing to sort of like, put people under pressure, and I suppose confidence does that to you. And when you look at it in a cold light of day, Tom, the gaffer has come out, and what he said after the Carlisle game, I agree with every word, in the fact that he's been honest and said he's picked some players, he signed 19 players, and some of them are not doing it. And he's told them in no uncertain terms, if you don't start doing it, then I will look at bringing people in January who can do it. And that's fair, isn't it?
Completely fair. I think Carlisle was really disappointing, to be honest. I haven't put too much weight in the previous losses to Everton and Hartlepool, because I feel like they're in somewhat a glorified friendly. But I think that Carlisle, as Joel alluded to, that we're really looking to get 2 results back to back just to build a bit of confidence. And I completely agreed with Robbo's interview after the game in terms of, although the first 20 minutes it looked like good football, I think there was echoes of what it looked like against Cambridge, where a lot of the footballs in front of them were not actually hurting them. And I feel a word that I've heard him use a lot this year is bravery, in possession and out of possession. And I think we've got to be braver in the things that we do. That if you're a winger or wide forwards, your job is to go and take on your fullback. If you're a centre back, your job is to clear the ball, whatever it takes from a corner. If you're Cole Stockton, you have to run in behind. And I think there's a couple of points that I feel Stephen feels let down at the moment by his players, because it doesn't matter which language he's trying to say it to the players, that some of the players are repeating it. That second goal did my head in, to be honest, because we'd seen that exact goal. We played a really good game against Oxford.
Yeah.
And their first goal at Oxford was a carbon copy of that second goal.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if the players won't learn, then we just simply have to change the players. And it will happen. It will happen. And the lads have got to decide in the next 10 games whether they've got it. Now, is it about down to attitude, ability, or confidence? It's one of the above, but we just can't afford to be carrying people to survive in League One. So, Big 10 games coming up for some players, and I expect some transfers coming in January, fingers crossed.
So following on from that, Rod, I've seen you again nodding because you're agreeing that what Robbo said was right. Presumably, it would be nice to get a bit of a cup run and beat Buxton, because we could do with the extra money to give us new players.
No, indeed. I don't believe there's suddenly a bad side. I think one of the issues we've got here, Freez, is we had a great start to the season, and I think maybe, and I did put this in my programme notes on Saturday, I think maybe expectations grew at a rapid rate, and perhaps some of us and some people need a bit of a reality check, and that's what we've got now. Don't mean to say the season's done by a long way. I think we've got more than the nucleus of a really good side to compete in League One, and I know that Stephen will have his target for January. We've brought Martin Foyle in as head of recruitment. He's worked with Stephen before at Motherwell. They've recruited well in that situation and made money for that club. And it's not just about that. It's about getting it right on the park first and foremost. So yeah, the cup could be a real bonus. You never put cup runs, wins in a budget. It's foolish to do so. So anything through this, it's definitely a bonus to us. And I'm confident that he will, and this isn't a vote of confidence, by the way, don't anybody misinterpret that. I am really confident that he'll get it.
The dreaded vote of confidence.
Yeah, the dreaded, yeah. I'm convinced they'll get it right. They work well as a team, the backroom staff and the coaching staff, and there's a lot there. And as I said before, the football we played early on was just entertaining, really entertaining football. We've got to see how it goes, but yeah, I think I was going to say turn it around. I think it's a little bit less, a bit duller than that. I don't think it's a major turn. I think it's a lot of fine tuning. But I do take on board what Tom said about players. They need to put that shift in, and that was disappointing the other night. Although we saw good things as well. We saw Andre make his debut. I thought he did all right.
Yeah,
and who knows? Kyle goes off in the warm up. Andre comes on. Now he's a young keeper. It's his first game. What's in the heads of the defence there? Are they overprotecting? Are they? I don't know. You can soon overthink these things. But again, some good stuff. I think Callum Jones has been excellent last couple of games. He's really showing now. You mentioned Wildy's goal last week. Great, you're right. I mean, somebody said it was a tap-in. It was never a tap-in. No. His run was great. The finish was decent. I do think people are a little bit on the team's back, and it is, for me, it's a little bit unfair.
Well, just to sort of reiterate it. we have had a brilliant start, but we have got an enormous amount of, particularly in the engine room in midfield, we've got a lot of young players. And as Joel has alluded to already on one of his threads, you know, the three that started the other night were all loanees. So it's going to be difficult, isn't it? It's going to be difficult. And Callum and Alfie, etc., they're all learning the trade. And while they're not the finished article yet, they hope to get there. And they're helping us and we're helping them along the way. And
David, I've got to reinforce, though, you know, and you know this, we played at Wembley on the Monday, Derek resigned on the Tuesday, we were interviewing for a manager that Saturday.
yeah.
You know, in 4 days we were interviewing. He was a month behind the curve on getting players in, and he got 19 players in. Now, that's phenomenal. It really is a massive, massive effort. So, yes,
he's not going to get all 19 right, is he?
No. And that's where he's got time now, together with Martin. He's got time now to look at what he wants and get his act together on the recruitment side for January, and then go for it. And I'm sure there will be casualties in the squad we've got, but he'll know exactly what he wants.
So I'll come back to both Joel and Tom there, and it was something I was going to move as a sort of separate topic. But Martin Foyle, a good history as a striker in the lower divisions, Port Vale. Good history as a manager non-league, but has really made his mark as somebody who was the go-to man both for Motherwell and for last season Northampton, to do some recruitment to put them in a situation where they get better players. And you can just look at Northampton, third in the division below us. That does sound good, saying division below, like. But so he's obviously got some pedigree there, and he's familiar to Robbo. So he could be invaluable in keeping us up, couldn't he, Joel?
Yeah, he could well be. You know, I mean, not only are Northampton third in League Two, they have one of the best defensive records in the country. So yeah, wouldn't mind a bit of that coming January. But you know, I think, you know, it's not. I think it must be nice probably for Stephen after you know, a sticky run of form to maybe have somebody who he's worked with before and has got a lot of experience as well. That might be quite nice for him to have. And then also, I think he's meant to be coaching a little bit as well, which is, you know, more support in the club. But yeah, like you say, you know, it's about kind of having a long-term plan, and you know, not all the transfers are going to work out, but trying to make as many work out as you can. You know, even some like the 19 over summer, we've had some turn out fantastic. I think Shane McLaughlin's been brilliant. Jonah Younger, you know, maybe a little bit on the decision-making side, but aside from that, he's absolutely brilliant. He's terrifying watching him go at defenders. So, you know, and if Martin Foyle's going to come in and help us work on that kind of long-term strategy and getting in the right players a little more often than not, then, you know, that's brilliant. And, you know, it's, I think overall as well for the club, it's a big step forward in becoming like kind of been laid out more of a kind of a proper League One club.
Yeah. I think I'll come to you now, Tom, because there's a certain, and I kind of subscribe to what the pair of you have been saying online, in the fact that perhaps we were a surprise package, and now people have been looking at us and sussed out how we play. There's still the capability for us to be a surprise package, because we haven't seen hardly anything of Courtney Doofus, Shane Harrison or Jonathan Abika. And those three players can, I mean, Doofus looks like another Younger, and Abika is a quicker of either of them. And he's better in the air than either of them. Because I saw him at Workington, and he's an absolute beast, is Abika. So we can still be in a situation where we get people back in December, and all of a sudden we become one of the surprise package. Hopefully, Tom.
Just going back to what we're talking about, this summer transfer, and there is an appreciation that everything happened so fast, right? Derek resigned, had to get straight on it. We brought in a top manager, top management team who, to bring in 19 players, I think I've clocked it 17 new players. Imagine how many conversations must have been going on, and with getting to Wembley as opposed to going up like Bolton did, we'd lost 3 weeks or something like that. So Stephen has said before, he gets some right, he gets some wrong. He's big and bold enough to put his hands up when he doesn't get them right. And just going back to the Foyle appointment, because I think the club is just doing so many exciting things off the field that is supporting the on-field stuff. That is a massive appointment. I don't believe I've ever had a head of recruit, like an official head of recruitment before. And according to one of the papers up in north of the border, he brought in, I think he brought in 6 million. Between that team, they brought in 6 million quid of transfers from players that had done nothing and then had improved them with confidence with coaching. So I believe that with Stephen with time is the guy that can do the coaching element of it. So to bring it back on course to what you were saying, yeah, we've got some exciting players still to come back, and we've doesn't feel like we've ever had a run of having an 11. So I'm just really looking forward to having the likes of Shane McLaughlin back and getting fullbacks in, getting some real structure about it where we get a solid run of games. So I think once we get a run of games of the players that we want in, and then we added in some of these extra players like Jonathan Abika, who I've never seen play in person, and Clips, Courtney Doofus, I think we've got the makings of a good squad. So when I was talking about the transfers coming in, I think perhaps one of the benefits, I think the areas that we need to strengthen are quite obvious, whereas we've got, through the team, we've got some areas that really are working. So it's not negative per se, it's just that there's some areas that we need to work, and there's plenty of areas that are working. So I think we can evolve, and we will evolve. And I think it comes down to coaching. I think bringing in Foyle, fingers crossed, should take some pressure off Stephen to do the recruitment side, and he can focus in. And as Joel said, if he's got a hell of experience in the game, he can perhaps give some advice, tell us what Northampton do from set pieces, and then we can start defending them.
Two pieces of flippancy from me. First of all, I'll take in what you said there, and Foyle will do the opposite of what he's supposed to do, because he will actually take the heat off.
Oh man!
Oh God!
And secondly, you being in Peru and you're reading newspapers about north of the border, and they've made millions of pounds in Ecuador.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
I was like, I hope my geography is right here. So, well, moving on, I'll come to you now, Tom. For those that don't know, Tom is the brains and the brawn behind ShrimpsOnline, who actually do the work of about 10 statisticians on every single game of Morecambe. He does a fantastic preview, which is available on Twitter, but you're now putting it on all platforms now, Tom. Am I right there?
Share it to as many people that would appreciate it, I think.
Yes. And I know Joel appreciates it, because obviously, and you get a guest to tell you about the ins and outs of their team every week. And literally every time, you're very kind in sending it to me on the Thursday. And I read it, and it takes me about, I've read shorter novels. And I think last week I said to you, Gordon Bennett, I think Lord of the Rings was written quicker than this, because but it's so in depth, and it's brilliant. Your take on how we're going to play, how we'll possibly line up, etc., etc. And as we know, Robbo will throw a curveball in because somebody will get injured. But then you get somebody in from the opposition who does an insight into their strengths and weaknesses, and they're always open and honest. And it's absolutely just, how did you come up with that idea, and how do you facilitate
that? Question. Well, I've always, as you guys know, I've been a Morecambe fan. You've talked about Buxton. I think that was my first year following. I've been overseas now for 10 years, but I've always kept that passion for football, and primarily Morecambe Football Club, of course. The thing that really I'm passionate about, I love the details of football. I love all the tiny little things. And I'm just super passionate about the analytical side. And it's something that it's just got me more and more interested the more I get into it. And I really got more deep into it last year when we had a great season, of course. I've invested in some tools as well that help me with my job to get some of the analytics. But yeah, I think
you shouldn't call the people who help you tools.
I do need to give a shout out, actually, because I do have someone that does my copy, my proofreading, who is a West Ham fan out in Peru. He'll appreciate the shout out. Who does my proofreading, which is really appreciated, because after you've done 4,500 words, you do tend to make the odd spelling mistakes. That's appreciated. But no, and then the opposition, I do try and do my own research. So try and watch a game. For example, I've seen in preparation for the Fleetwood game. I've watched Fleetwood Ipswich to get a flavour for what they're about. So I tried to do my own research, backing up with what I'm seeing versus the data, and then the last minute I then try and feed in what the opposition views in, because I don't want confirmation bias. I want to see with my own eyes and what the data say and marrying it up. Sometimes I don't see the same thing, but usually they all tend to come into one. And then you think, well, we're perhaps onto something here. And it doesn't always work out, but you know, I also mean with the predicted lineups, I don't mind if I'm wrong, as long as the logic, the rationale is sound for it. And I think I'm learning about Stephen Robinson. Like I felt like Derek Adams, I could almost map out his decisions. It was very logical. I'm starting to see that same pattern with Stephen Robinson. So I just really enjoy analysing it, speaking to people that want to have an intelligent conversation about what's going on. I don't profess to have all the answers, but it's what's a beautiful game. I hope it's valuable to people.
Well, I always read it, and you're always teaching me things, and that's good enough for me, because I'm completely I'm not against all the stuff that you and Joel find interesting, but I sort of hated that sort of analytical thing in maths when I was at school, and I'm absolutely dreadful at that sort of stuff. But Joel, you must find this incredibly interesting, because this is your bag, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it when it drops early, because it gives me something to talk about the opposition on the podcast. But no, I thoroughly enjoy reading it every week, you know. And, you know, I always find out something a bit different and kind of get a different kind of perspective on how we play. I think we discuss these kind of things as well. And, like, we generally tend to agree on a lot of them, me and Tom. But, like, you know, ultimately, it's just interesting to be able to kind of share those ideas and then read somebody else's take, because while you may agree on a lot of things, somebody's always got something that, you know, these people like Tom and I guess he brings in, they've always got something a little bit different to maybe add that you might not have realised or might not have spotted before. So discussing these things are just, really interesting and good fun.
Well, I take heart from the fact that I'm not, as I said, I'm not particularly analytical, but I'll look at a game, and I like to think, I could be completely wrong, but I can read a game quite well. And when we were playing the other night, I thought straight away, oh, he's trying 4-2-3-1. You know, that's what it looked like to me. And you two analysts both came out and said 4-2-3-1. So, you know, you're teaching me things here, guys, because, you know, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that's right. But there you go. But so do you find this, I know you find it really interesting, Tom, but it must take you, you just said 4,500 words. It must take you forever.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, it's your passion, though, isn't it? If you do something you really enjoy doing, that it kind of all marries together. I mean, I purposely get it out for 9 a.m. ish on a Friday for Saturday kickoffs, and Tuesday same sort of time for Tuesday kickoff. So it does take a hell of a commitment, to be honest. But yeah, I guess if it's your passion, that it's just something that the more you dig into it, the more fascinating it is. And I won't lie, it's hard. It takes a hell of a lot of man hours, but yeah, in the process, you're learning. What my goal is, that I just want to become kind of be able to have a good reasoned take on not only Morecambe but the opposition. So if someone was to say, what do you think of this player? What do you think of this team? I'm not recycling someone else's opinion that I've read. That I know with confidence that it's something that I believe in. So yeah, and something I tried to do as well is, as sad as I am, is I tried to I watched the game on the Saturday or whatever it is, and then I'll rewatch it back, because without that emotion, you can actually see it more from like a more clinical point of view, and just
dispassionately,
just because at the time, like you might, you know, if there's been a mistake or a goal, for that next 5 minutes, you're probably thinking about that. So I'm really interested to see, like I said, going back to it, my granddad was a huge football fan. I just always remember him saying, he wouldn't have been talking about XG and all this stuff now, the PPDA and all this stuff, but he said, I just love seeing all the tiny little things that off the ball, whether someone's just a defender's pulled someone, and I think that's come through to me, that I do miss going to the games physically, but iFollow is just incredible, that I've been able to watch full games again and look for those little details. And I love the kind of second guessing. Oh, why did our manager do that? Why did their manager do that? Why was that going on? Was it a conscious thing? And those are things that keep me obsessed, to be honest, because I'm a bit of a sad nut.
You must have two things: a very understanding boss and a very understanding wife.
Well, the boss does my proofreading, and he hates all the statistics. Yes, I have a gorgeous wife who's very understanding and supportive.
So, looking at that in plain terms, when do you, like, for instance, we haven't got a game now until Fleetwood. When do you start thinking about that?
As early as possible, really. For example, I watched Fleetwood Ipswich a couple of days ago, so I'm just starting. I'm getting better at forward planning. So finding someone that I think is going to give insightful thoughts on the opposition. It's not finding anyone; it's finding someone that can add value. And what I've been doing lately is bringing two people to the party, which I think gives a really good flavour, because it gets sometimes, for example, Cambridge. They had a disagreement on the formation and they give different things. So it just gives you a bit more depth to it. But I guess I'm trying to get better at forward planning. So started thinking about Fleetwood perhaps last week. But I'm always kind of ticking on, just watching teams. So I watched a lot of Cheltenham this year, I watched a lot of Sheffield Wednesday. I just kind of pick and just try and get through games and just try and understand what's going on. But yeah, I'm just trying to forward plan as much as possible and just keep learning, basically.
Well, I did some forward planning today for Fleetwood because I went and bought a ticket because obviously it's a weekend. That was as near as I got. And as I was saying off air beforehand, 22 quid to stand at Fleetwood. And I'm like, I know Pilly's going to be in court for something, but I didn't know I was paying for his lawyer. Dear Lord, that's money, isn't it? But anyway, never mind. It is football. And you got to pay to watch Morecambe, one of the best teams to watch. Goals both ends. Well, I'm getting value for money, aren't I? Tell me I'm wrong, statisticians. Oh, there's just laughter.
Yeah, depends who you support. If it's so neutral, it's very fun. It's what makes me have a heart attack. If not,
no, I know.
1-0 win at Fleetwood would do be fine. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that'd do for me as well. But strange enough, and I said this on the last podcast, that when it was 1-1, we were 1-1 at home, and I turned around and said, it's not going to stop like this. He'll give me a tenner. And nobody had bet because they thought there was going to be another goal. And we ended up 1-1 with a decent side. But I thought it was quite interesting, really, what you were saying there about predicting how teams are going to play, etc. Because I'll go back to the Accrington game. And Accrington didn't play. They completely changed the way they played this season. They've gone with Colby and another big lad up front. And they've gone fairly long, fairly direct. And Accrington used to be sort of like keep it on the ground and play. And they played very direct and gave us a load of trouble until we got somebody sent off, when they reverted to playing like they did last season, playing tippy-tappy football in front of us, and we got a 3-3 draw. And I was like, well, yeah, I was right. But you just don't know what they're going to do you? I mean, that was a crazy one. We're going a man down against Accrington, and they deliberately changed the tactics to something that didn't work. And what's the rationale for that? So that's why it's interesting what you're doing, Tom, because you're trying to second guess and you never know what's going to happen, do you? That's the key.
I think just going back to that, I think the Cheltenham one was a really interesting game because I think Michael Duff, who I think is a fantastic manager, I think League Two Manager of the Year last year, even though it should have been Derek Adams. But anyway, moving on. I think he sprung a trap on us because Cheltenham most of the time was when they've got everyone fit would play a 3-3 or 5, kind of 3-5-2, 5-3-2, and then they played 4 at the back and then they played 2 up front with 1 in the hole. Yeah, and I think that just caught us by surprise because you could see I think they'd spotted a bit of an opportunity against them. They played 2 of the lads. Joseph, who's on loan from Swansea, who was at Wigan last year, who's a big lad in himself, big young lad. And then there's Vassell, and they're two big lads. And so yeah, you just can't predict it. And it's almost like one big game of chess where people are trying to outdo each other with these tiny things. And so yeah, it's extremely hard to predict. And managers are just, these. If you're managing the EFL, you've going to be a top manager. It's hard to get these jobs, you know.
Yeah.
So they'll do anything to get the result, because these results are massive for clubs. We need the 3 points. Fleetwood need the 3 points. Cheltenham. I think that's one thing as well, just to touch on, is I think there's almost this expectation that, you know, we've gone to Portman Road, got a draw there, beating Sheffield Wednesday, then we just kind of, I think maybe it's almost perceived that we can go to Cheltenham and just get a result, or get a result at Fleetwood or something like that. But you've got to remember they're in the same boat. They're desperate for League One survival as well. So it's just such a competitive League One, really competitive.
Joel, have you got anything you want to ask of Tom?
No, I think we pretty much still covered it there, Freeze. I think we natter about tactics enough in our own time, don't we, Tom?
We do.
That's true. So I'll move on to the news from the boardroom, Rod.
Dogs barking, David.
Dogs barking. Yeah. That's because it's like, Dad, give me some food.
Hey.
So go on. What's happening in the boardroom? And we've got progress off the field. That's what usually we get told by either Charlie or James. So what progress can we expect on the well, first of all, the cover behind the home end, the barter card stand?
Yeah, it's we're hoping within the next 4 weeks that should be up and running. It's happening. We've got a couple of weeks break, so there will be some movement definitely there. Taking a little bit longer again because of circumstances I won't bore you with, but we're getting there now. Yeah, it's positive progression all the time, Dave. You know, not wanting to be totally boring, but Morecambe Football Club, ahead of recruitment, League One in the EFL, 2,600 season ticket holders, live on the BBC in a couple of weeks' time, chips at the Mazuma Stadium.
Chips. That's the biggest problem.
And talking live to a Morecambe fan in Peru. I mean, who would have believed all this? We would have never believed it, would we?
And,
international duty for Jamaica.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a Jamaican international, and that's why Joel's wearing his Jamaica shirt for those watching on YouTube. And obviously, Tommy's wearing a fake replica Peru shirt, which is not dissimilar to. It's the reverse of our home shirt. It's white with a red sash.
It's very nice. But no, seriously, I think we've got a continue. The wife returned.
Yeah.
That's not her, by the way.
I was going to say she sounds a bit rough.
Rough. We've got a continual involvement. You've seen this over the years, David. We've got a plan in place. Should I get rid of the dog? Should I get rid of the dog?
Don't kill the dog.
No, that's yeah. How are your dogs, Tom? I'll fill in by saying, how are your dogs?
They're doing grand, thanks, Freeze. They're doing grand. I've locked them away, so
yeah.
not in a cupboard or anything.
Rolly trolled in about 10 minutes before we started recording and jumped on the bed and was sort of pouring me. But luckily you couldn't see it. I was like, Rolly, so I had to chuck him out, bless him. So. This will be interesting for you to edit out, Joel.
I know. I might keep it out. Actually, everybody loves dogs.
I think you should.
Dogs are a big hitter. Like,
yeah, they are.
It's a guaranteed win.
And Anthony O'Connor's was it his daughter? His daughter burst in. She burst in, and then Anthony got distracted by her because he was trying to pick her up, and then he brought the dog in to play with her, and all you could hear was woof, woof, genius. A comedy moment. Yeah. Anyway, do carry on, Rod.
Kids and animals, you should keep all the way. So, what I was trying to say to you, we've got a continuing involvement now. We've got the 3-year plan, which I know James and Charlie have been through with you, but that is a working document. Okay, the promotion came earlier than we anticipated, but all the stuff that underpins that is absolutely, absolute reality. We've employed a head of business operations in the community sports section club now, Stuart Glover. That's alongside Janet looking at developing that area, which is it's an enormous part of the football club, an enormous part of our town and our whole locality. So there's things all the time that are happening. Some things aren't maybe obvious. Other things for people turning up on a Saturday afternoon will be more obvious. You know, like the food outlets that we've got, like the bar behind the barter card stand, all, you know, customer related things that we have to improve on all the time. And I think we're doing that. I think we made great inroads this last year.
The biggest, it was quite funny on Saturday in the FA Cup game. The biggest cheer I've ever heard at half time was when the lady came out with a sign saying, saying the Wi-Fi's working, you can buy food again with a card. And about 50 people went, "Hey!" and immediately dashed down to get a pie. We had some sort of cyber attack Saturday, is that right?
I wouldn't put it that strong. There was a problem that was resolved.
Have you ever thought of going to politics?
No.
You'd be very good. Not answering the question that I asked you, but
there's not a lot of opposition at the moment, David, so I probably won't be.
Yeah, true. Yeah, very true. Well, so the one thing I will ask you, Charlie's started a one-man campaign to get mushy peas back. What's the chances?
Well, it's quite a difficult one, that really. I don't think we've got a can opener.
That answers that. Then we're stuck with process.
Yeah, I will make inquiries and get back to you.
Well, Charlie on his Twitter page put a picture of a mushy pea butty, 2 slices of white bread with mushy peas, and some girl went, "This is not a thing?" ? And I was like, "Well, it could be."
I know there's a guy on a vlog the other day I watched, and he was raving about, you know, getting gravy with his pie. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I saw it, yeah.
It was brilliant. You think, you know, simple things like that, just simple little things. Keep delivering the service, and you know we're making progress.
So we move to the final. Our little. I always come to Joel and say, "Have we got any updates for the trust?" I mean, I always say this, and Rod touched on it. 2,600 season ticket holders, 660 trust members. Why haven't we got 2,600 members? We should have, shouldn't we?
I know, yeah. Hopefully, we'll get a few more coming throughout this year. But yeah, you know, more people for away travel, surely. But
we've managed to avoid that one this week.
I know, yeah.
We'll keep trying to get through a whole podcast without mentioning the away coaches.
No.
Ruined it.
I know, I've ruined it now. But what we do have going, actually, which is nice, is we've got the Christmas toy appeal, which I think we've run for a couple of years now. Which I think there's an Amazon link you can go through and get toys sent to us, and then we'll be able to donate them to charity. You know, but if you are able to, it's obviously a campaign I would greatly encourage you to take part in.
It was amazingly successful last year. I know so many people contributed because they thought it was such a different and such a good idea. Rod,
I think as well. I think just on some of the Facebook pages and the forums at the moment, because the amount of toys that are being thrown out of prams, you'll gather loads.
Sweep the angry Facebook comments for the toys out of the pram.
And I thought you were going to make a serious comment then, but yeah,
come on, David.
I'll let you have that. That's not a problem. Yeah, it's a good thing to get behind. Is that like I say, I ended up buying a couple of things just when I went to the supermarket last year and thought, I'll get a couple of things. And there are loads of kids out there because of the situation with child poverty, particularly in certain parts of our town, which, you know, we're all very much aware of. Even though there are certain people like our MP who deny it actually exists. Bit political there, Ben Elton. But from that point of view, it would be lovely, even if you're not a Shrimps Trust member, but you listen to this and just think, well, I could buy something for £5 and I'll chuck it in, because I know the club, well, the trust were amazed last year because we ended up getting absolutely hundreds and hundreds, didn't we, Joel?
Yeah, coming out their ears,
which was brilliant. And I know a couple of the trust members are arguing over Sabutio. So I was like, buy your own.
David, I think you make a very good point there. That it's on our doorstep, and in our own probably cosseted lives for most of us, we don't appreciate what's out there. I do a little bit with the food bank, and you've got to experience it to actually take it on board fully. That it is a problem locally. It's not going away rapidly. It has been exacerbated by the COVID situation and people's jobs and earnings and all the rest of it. But, it's well worth supporting the food bank and an appeal like this, because on Christmas Day, that's going to make a massive difference to kids who haven't got, diddly squat.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it's a good thing to get behind, and well done. We're giving ourselves a pat on the back, Joel, because I think it's a fantastic initiative.
Yes, I think, yeah.
And
big shout out to Joanna and Steve and Paul and everybody at the trust, because they're the real drivers behind this appeal. Yeah,
and well done to you also for bringing it to our attention, but also
talking about it.
I mean that's what we use the podcast for. It's it's for all. It's by the trust, for the trust, and for all fans, and just making them aware. So thank you very much. Just a quick reminder, ShrimpsOnline is on Twitter, but also it'll be on Shrimps Voices, and you'll probably put a link onto it on their Facebook page and wherever else you can, Tom, don't you?
Try to, yeah. So please give it a read, and always interested to hear any comments. Thanks very much for having us on.
Good to see you, Tom. Good to see you.
Yeah, it is good to see you, and hopefully, you can contribute a bit more in the future. Because the simple fact is, we're all inclusive here. I'd like to get Dom, who's behind Car Wash Terrace, on as well, because I think he does a lot of good stuff, and I know he's got Mickey involved in that, etc. I'm aware that I've got to wrap up pretty quickly because Joel's got another appointment with another podcast, so we've got to go. So I'll say thank you to all of you wonderful guests tonight, Rod Taylor. And Tom Collins from ShrimpsOnline.
Thanks, Freeze. Thanks, Rod. Thanks, Joel.
And thanks, Joel, as always, for your input. This has been ShrimpNet. It's been the podcast of Morecambe Football Club through the Shrimps Trust. Thanks to Ryan Daly for always putting this on via the Morecambe FC website. It gets it to more people. And when I sat in the stand last Saturday, I got loads and loads and loads of feedback. People saying they really enjoy it because it is just like listening to people talking about the club they love. And on that note, we'll see you next week.